If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say that publicly, it's clear.
This election is about all of us, as is the resolution of this moment. I acknowledge that former Secretary of State Brian Kemp will be certified as the victor in the 2018 gubernatorial election. But to watch an elected official who claims to represent the people in this state baldly pin his hopes for election on the suppression of the people's democratic right to vote has been truly appalling. So let's be clear. This is not a speech of concession. Because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. As a woman of conscience and faith, I cannot concede that. So we have used this election and its aftermath to diagnose what has been broken in our process. Make no mistake, the former Secretary of State was deliberate and intentional in his actions. I know that 8 years of systemic disenfranchisement, disinvestment, and incompetence had its desired effect on the electoral process in Georgia. I also know that we live in a nation where 4 federal judges were necessary to force the counting of the ballots cast in the face of Brian Kemp's opposition to and disregard for their lawful consideration. I know that millions of Georgians, of Americans, of goodwill, and various partisan beliefs, they are enraged by these truths. Pundits and hyper-partisans will hear my words as a rejection of the normal order. You see, I'm supposed to say nice things and accept my fate. They will complain that I should not use this moment to recap what was done wrong or to demand a remedy. You see, as a leader, I should be stoic in my outrage and silent in my rebuke. But stoicism is a luxury, and silence is a weapon for those who would quiet the voices of the people. And I will not concede because the erosion of our democracy is not right. Today, I announce the launch of Fair Fight Georgia, an operation that will pursue accountability in Georgia's elections and integrity in the process of maintaining our voting rolls. In the coming days, we will be filing a major federal lawsuit against the state of Georgia for the gross mismanagement of this election and to protect future elections from unconstitutional actions. We will channel the work of the past several weeks into a strong legal demand for reform of our election systems in Georgia.
And so the 3 questions I ask are actually taken from a professor I TA'd for in law school, and it was, what do you want, why do you want it, and how do you get it? Typically, we talk about what we want and how we plan to get it. The problem is if we don't figure out why we want it, the first time there's a hardship, the first time there's a detour, the first time someone steals your election, then you get all confused.
So what was the most important lesson that you learned from running in the first place for governor and from losing a race that you felt that you basically were cheated out of because of an unfair system? What was the biggest lesson for you?
Don't let the Secretary of State be in charge of the election. Yeah. I think that's the end of my snark, maybe. No, I mean, look, the fundamental challenge with the election that I just ran is that the person in charge was essentially a cartoon villain. He was the referee, the contestant, and the scorekeeper. And my expectation was that despite all of those things and despite the work I was doing to shore against it, I still fundamentally believed it could be fair. And that's just not how life works. If it looks like it's cheating, it probably is. If it looks like it's rigged, it probably is. That does not mean that you don't try anyway, but I wasn't prepared to lose in that way. And I tend to say I didn't lose, I just didn't win.
If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say that publicly, it's clear.